I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't stop looking at pictures of them. And I turned on Ancient Love, and John Mark, the tears just flowed, and I put my phone down, and I felt so at peace in my grief. And so I just want y'all to know both of your songs feel like home to me, and has just helped me engage in God's presence. So thank you both.
In a way that I couldn't have at 6 years old, at 14, I was really grieving. Like, he's gone, and he's never coming back. And I stood there at his grave, and I just wailed. I don't know that I've really even cried like that since, you know? Not that God was doing this for the first time, but the first time I was really aware of the fact that God was like comforting me. It was like showing me that there was a father that had never stopped being present to me. In terms of like a father loving me, that is what really hit home for me at that grave. And I walked away from that with eyes that I hadn't had before.
But in the last 50 or 100 years, humanity has almost decided that, like, it's okay to approach the world as just cold data and molecules bumping around in a soup of matter, right? And people are sad. Maybe some people are sad because they don't have a posture towards God and the transcendent the way people have had for centuries.
The Living Proof EP, I said, is the poppiest, happiest, to me, worship music that I feel is more fun than serious, but it's so serious. My heart is affected every time I listen, but it's just so fun. Wow, it happens. And those pop tunes have also moved me to tears, man.
There's things happening culturally behind the scenes that, like, I can deal with in short, sips. But being around the rock and roll lifestyle for long periods of time is not good for my soul, right? And I don't know that, like, bringing kids out to a show and hearing what some of I sound like such a dad right now. But
hey, you are.
Like,
you are. You're a dad.
Yep.
There are actually a lot of, I think rock bands have chilled out. But when we first started, it was like, sex, drugs, rock and roll. It was the whole thing from the stage in front of everybody. And I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable bringing my fans into this environment.
You kind of get humbled a little bit because you're like, well, that was me just trying to play God, wasn't it? Trying to act as if I knew exactly what God was thinking, but I didn't know it all. So really, probably at the end of it, sometimes I just got that feeling like, all right, you're there with me right now. Or, I don't know how to explain this right now, but I just believe. Or I don't know how to say it, but I just got so much hope for that person. And I think that to me is really what that song is getting at.
What's up, man?
Yo, what up?
What's up?
You threw your stuff together quickly, man.
It's the hats and glasses and facial hair crew.
It's that day.
My partner in crime, she works in the studio. She made fun of me for bringing my fan shirt. Like, yeah, dude.
Dude,
you got to do
That's
it.
Right.
It looks good on you.
So here with John Mark McMillan and Zach Bolen, I'm excited. This is going to be super fun, and I can't wait to play y'all's music throughout this whole episode. And I really want to speak from my heart here in a second about how much your music means to me. But right now, what's up, fellas? Where are you guys tuning in from? And I'll ask you this. I'll say, when you hang up and you're done, what are you going to do with the rest of your day?
Ooh.
I know where y'all are tuning in from, but people like that stuff. Where are y'all tuning in from?
Okay. I'm tuning in from Nashville today. I'm in Nashville. Lived here for 5 years now.
Nice.
And I'm outside today, which right now feels okay. It doesn't always feel like that. Mm-hmm. When I hang up, I am going to go, I got to go edit a bunch of videos because we got a new record coming, and we made some really cool, this wild video that I can't find anyone that can edit it the way that I'm seeing it. So I'm going to go do it.
Dang. Has that already been in your repertoire of skills? Like you video edit, got a background in that?
I did that for a long time, actually. Cause gotcha. I went to SCAD and I did like film, and I did sculpture there. I did a lot of things, but that was kind of dating back to then. I kind of got into all that world.
Yeah.
So
John Mark, did you know he lived in Savannah?
I did.
Gosh.
Well, we just did a pretty decent tour run together. So I
got to know each other.
His travels.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. All right, Charlotte boy.
So yes, I am indeed in Charlotte right now. And when I'm done here, so I just got back from vacation, so I have about 400 things I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
But I'm writing a book, and I hope the book doesn't suck. So I'm rewriting everything. Like I've done music for a long time, and I've never written a book, but in my mind, I'm like as good an author as I am a musician, but I realize I've literally never written anything before. So I think I have a little bit too high of an expectation. So I'm trying to get off and go do a bunch of stuff I have to do, but I will probably immediately go back to my computer and continue.
Well, that's exciting, man.
One of the chapters
cool, man.
of the book.
Can't wait to read it.
So
wait a second. So y'all were on tour, and Zach, you're just finding this out. Either you're a poor listener, or John Mark just didn't open up to you.
Well,
was that
he mentioned like he mentioned is this the graphic novel or is this something different?
No, it's not the graphic novel. So that's another one. I have a lot of projects.
Yeah, he's mentioned quite a few books, but this sounds like a book, not just
this is a book.
That's funny. I was going to ask how after a leg of tour, y'all got to feel super close. I've spent a little bit more time with John Mark, but John Mark, you probably don't know that Zach and I have had a little stint of comedy together. I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you remember those days, man? I think we did it twice.
How could I forget? we really gave some people a run for their money.
I know. I'm going to get
really
into that.
It.
I know. People are like, Zach, you shouldn't stand for that guy. I can't wait to talk about that. But hey, I want to get real serious here because, like I said, I'm going to play y'all's music from your most recent releases that I'll tell our listeners about, but I really want to tribute to you guys as friends. Zach, I actually texted you right after the fact one time. I was seeking the Lord a few years ago. It was the last time I ever did that. I need to do that a little more regularly. I'm just kidding. But I was on the West Ashley Greenway, so people who are familiar with Charleston needed to get out in nature and your music. And at the time, I was just listening to everything and more over and over and over. And it really, I just remember it acting as my entryway to thinking about God and being in his presence. And I'll put it this way. I always gravitate towards music that's not mainstream. Some people call that snobby, but it just happens to be the kind of music I like. So I don't listen to a lot of the worship that's on Christian radio. And I posted one time basically that when I am wanting to turn to God and, think about the Lord, it's either John Mark's music, Zach's music, or Chad from Kings. And I put that out there, and some guy posted, he was just like, same thing, same three artists. So I wonder how many people have like a King's Kaleidoscope, Citizens, and John Mark playlist. But you guys have been ministers to me in really dark times, and I want to tell y'all something. I don't know if I'll be able to. But last night, I was missing my dad so much. Shoot. And I couldn't sleep. And I couldn't stop looking at pictures of him. And I turned on Ancient Love. And John Mark, the tears just flowed. And I put my phone down. And I felt so at peace in my grief. And so I just want y'all to know both of your songs feel like home to me. And has just helped me engage in God's presence. So thank you both. And so Zach, if I was listening to Living as Proof EP on a cassette tape, by your band Citizens, I'd probably need to buy a new one. I mean, it's just on repeat. And Cosmic Supreme, your newest release where, Ancient Love is on. Gosh, it's just beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So gonna get into all of that. And sorry, I just cried on you guys, but
it's normally me. I'm glad it's you first.
I guess I gotta go next.
Do y'all see is your tour, because I'm definitely going to hit up the Charleston show. And where is it? Make it clear, because there's a lot of Charleston people listening.
It is going to be at the, I don't want to say it wrong. So let me actually, it's a place I haven't played before that sounds really, really cool. So let make sure I say it
Yep.
right.
And tell people the website of y'all's tour dates.
Yep.
I'll have it in the show
notes. You can
notes.
go to my website or Citizen site. My site is johnmarkmcmillan.com, and Citizen site is
wearecitizens.net.
wearecitizens.net. Either one of those places will take you where you need to go.
There you go.
The Charleston date is going to be at oh my gosh. Why is it not saying it? I'm going to
Go
my
to the
own
Citizens
website,
website, everybody.
Yeah,
Going
just
to
go.
my own. No, it has the date. It doesn't have the name of the venue.
Gotcha. That's all right. Well, people, we'll have it in the show notes and everything. But yeah, go to Citizens. They obviously have their act together right now. And
The Riviera Theater.
Nice.
The Riviera Theater.
That does sound like a good time.
yeah.
It does. I have not played at the Riviera Theater before. We've done the Music Farm and I think Charleston Music Hall.
Yeah.
I played the tennis arena with Need to Breathe one time.
Yeah. So I love you guys a lot. I'm curious how this came together. Was John Mark saying, I like Citizens music, let me hit him up? Or have you guys just, gotten to be friends online? I mean, how did this come together?
You want to share it? You want me to share it? I feel like we're back in the VIP.
I know, dude, we are. I mean, I'll start with the like where it all began. And I think going back to, outside of just like being a fan of each other's music, even before we knew each other, we were playing a festival in New Zealand back in I believe it was 18, but it might have been 2019. I can't remember. And we were going over to Sydney to play a show over there. And we saw like, wait, John Mark is also at this festival. We should figure out a way to do a show or two together.
Yeah.
And so that turned from like one show to doing multiple shows in Australia together. And then also doing the festival together. So after that happened, we're like, man, this is really awesome. We need to do this together. And then, obviously a short time later, COVID happened, and then everybody was trying to get their act together again. And fast forwards to, John Mark, kind of your idea for this whole tour, which I think was cool.
Yep. I think too, and I hate to sound like a snob. This is going to sound
I don't know if it's possible for John Mark to sound like a snob, but go ahead.
Well, get ready. Get ready. So
get ready and get wrecked.
I feel like if you've been to our show before and you're kind of familiar with what we do at large, you realize I don't think there are a lot of bands that make sense to tour with.
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like a lot of times our options are either super CCM bands, and I love those people. I'll play with them. I don't know that their audience always gets us, or there's like just full on rock bands that can often be, I didn't care as much when I was younger, but they can often be kind of crass. And there's things happening culturally behind the scenes that like I can deal with in short, sips. But being around the rock and roll lifestyle for long periods of time is not good for my soul, right? And I don't know that, like, bringing kids out to a show and hearing what I sound like such a dad right now. But
hey, you are.
Saying? Like,
you are. You're a dad.
Yep.
There are actually a lot of, I think rock bands have chilled out. But when we first started, it was like, sex, drugs, rock and roll. It was the whole thing from the stage in front of everybody. And I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable bringing my fans into this environment. But then I don't feel like we sound like enough like the CCM bands. And so like, there's just a handful of bands that I think really make sense. And Citizens has always been one of those. They're just amazing songs, amazing live band, amazing recordings. And like, it's music I would listen to even if it wasn't Christian music, right? It's just amazing that I sound like a daddy. They share my values. No, but it's more than that. They make really good music and they love God, and that matters a lot to me. Like I would actually listen to their music. I actually do listen to their music. I sound like a snob. I'm trying to be careful because I have so many friends in the CCM world. I'm like, I listen to your music too. I just like really listen to Citizens music. You know what I'm saying?
Is the new EP just not unbelievable? I mean, it's so amazing. Fun.
I love it.
Oh my God.
It's so good. It is.
Dude, it's crazy too, Joey, because I've shared this with John Mark, but like similar to you, like I've had a time in my life where I don't know, it just, I don't I think it's okay to say this. I have a hard time emotionally connecting with what a lot of worship music is. And it's not, I think what I've started to realize more and more is like, oh yeah, it's just not a genre of music I would ever turn on, you know? And mainly because of the sound of so much of it. But there are those few artists that make something that really moves me in my relationship with God, that like really moves me. Kind of like when you texted me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've had those moments with John Mark songs that are really special. And so it's cool to be on a tour together where we can be in the same room and know that there's people that have had also those same experiences with a John Mark song or with a Citizen song. And we're all sharing in that together, that we're not even talking about it. We're just sort of like looking around the room like, yeah, you know, this is real. That's a special feeling to have. You know, you don't really get that very often, especially in a room full of people.
I'm so excited to see all of these songs played. I here's what I wrote down, and I know I'm in friend territory, so if anything comes across offensive, you guys can just laugh at me. But the Living Proof EP, I said, is the poppiest, happiest, to me, worship music that I feel is more fun than serious, but it's so serious. My heart is affected every time I listen, but it's just so fun. Wow, it happens. And those pop tunes have also moved me to tears, man. And you said you were proud of that thing, right? Like it. I mean,
yeah, so proud. I mean, yeah, incredibly proud.
Yeah,
I think that what it's become and just the whole process of making it, we were really following a feeling, like a gut thing that sometimes you can't put words to, and I really feel like. I feel like we kind of chipped away at something that really is expressing that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So y'all are getting older, because so am I, and we're peers. Is touring as fun as it used to be? Like, here's my guess would be it's great homie time and whoever else friends that you guys get to hang out, and that's always a refreshing thing. But I would think the downside is being away from your families. Is that the highs and lows, pretty much, in a nutshell?
Nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much right on.
Yeah.
That's pretty much right on.
Yeah.
In the last few years, you know, my wife has been able to come out and sing with us a little more. And this last tour, my oldest son came out and played saxophone.
Sweet.
So it's fun when like the family is becoming part of the band. So that's one of my dreams. That's part of why I want to write a book. I want to do a book and do a book tour. Just take my family out one summer and see America and sign books and play acoustic shows.
That sounds cool.
Coffee shops and bookstores. But yeah, you pretty much hit it on the head. It's hard being away from home, and it's also hard knowing like my oldest son is 17. In a couple years, he could be like out of the house and gone. And so we definitely feel the clock ticking a little bit, you know. So when I'm gone, I feel that a little bit. But it is great to be. It's very life-giving to be with my friends.
For sure.
And honestly, hanging with Zach and having guys I can talk about all the stuff with, like industry stuff, like family stuff, like spiritual stuff. Like, it's great because there's not, you know, I have a handful of friends. I can talk about those different things, but it is really fun being on the bus with the Citizens guys and my band guys and be able to like, if I want to talk about God or theology or like what sucks in the industry right now, like, is AI going to destroy us in the streaming? It's like all of those conversations are on the table, and I don't look like a weirdo for bringing it up.
For sure.
So I love that. I love that part of it. And then I still love the people that come to the shows. I love looking at them and seeing them sing. Something about it is just really precious to see these people come out and sing songs. You know, songs I wrote.
Bet you that came with age. Like, that's something you probably didn't really slow down to appreciate 30 years ago. You may have, but it seems like that's something that comes with maturity of just appreciating, oh my gosh, these people are singing songs that I wrote. It's a big deal.
I think that's the story arc of maturity as an artist. When you're young, you're just blown away that like you get to walk out on stage and play and that you get paid to do it. And then you get a little bit tired. And then I know a lot of artists who kind of resent their audience a little bit. And you see people, some of the things they say and the way they treat some of their fans. Like I've probably had bad interactions, but I feel like for the most part, I've always tried to remember that like these people are supporting what I'm doing and that they're a part of it and they deserve to feel a part of it, but as I get older and older, I realize more and more, it's not just that they're supporting what I'm doing. Like, this connection I have with them as human beings is like priceless. Getting to sing a song with this couple on the front row who brought their 2 teenage kids who've been listening to the songs for 20 years. Like, that's a moment that I need to cherish because it only happens so often, and maybe that may be the only time it happens with that particular people in that configuration, So I think, that's kind of the artist thing. Yeah. I mean, that's humanity as well. Like, I was selfish when I was younger, and as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit less selfish.
Me and Zach were never selfish. That's weird, man. That's weird.
More aware of my selfishness.
Not for a second.
I realized
for a second. Hey, so episode 20, if you want to know John Mark McMillan's background and hear that, go back to episode 20 because that's one of the first episodes we recorded, me, you, and Propaganda. We're gonna get to know Zach, and you guys are just gonna have to keep up. Go back to episode 20. First of all, Zach, one of my favorite things, like I said, that I've ever done online was when I was with another podcast. You and I at least did 2 interviews, which was John Mark. So it was a complete spoof. So I got on there basically pretending that this is an official interview about a new album. And listeners, think Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. I was a character. I was rude. I mocked your art. I was aloof to serious stuff that you were saying. And it was all a show that you were in on. And here's 2 things I realized. One is I'm such a nice guy, but it was therapeutic to be a jerk. And I don't know what that says about me because I'm never that way to people. And then the second thing, and what you already mentioned this, and this is the story of my life with the humor that I exude. Some of your fans did not think it was a joke.
There were
what kind of volume of people? Was it a couple dozen or just a few? Like, were people like, this guy don't ever do an interview with him again?
Well, put it this way. Enough people saw it that there were like comments on the internet, but also friends texting me and people in person coming to me like, dude, that guy in that interview, that was crazy, man. And there'd be some times where I'd be like, depending on the personality of the person that was coming up to tell me that, I'd be like, I'm just gonna let it actually stay. Let them think that it's
John Mark. Literally, he's talking about serious stuff, and I start eating popcorn really loud in the microphone, like looking around, and he has to like stop what he's doing and be like, "Dude, are you even listening?" Like, people thought that was for real.
The hardest part was not laughing the entire interview.
Oh, you were flawless.
You did it well. You did it very well.
Oh,
Joey.
It was fun.
I'm glad we did that. That might be one of my favorite things I've ever been a part of.
And I can't find it. For that. I can't find it. I thought it would be on Facebook somewhere. I cannot find it.
It's gone.
Yeah, maybe.
Dude, we got to find that.
Yeah, we got to do it. Maybe we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Zach, tell us a bit about your background. Did you grow up in church? How'd you become a follower of the good Lord and all that stuff?
Yep. So I did grow up in a small church in Maryland. I was born into a family of sort of like complicated faith sort of things.
That makes complete sense. Are you going to explain?
Yeah, I am going to explain it. And, it was sort of like went to church as a young kid. And then my dad died when I was 6. And so when he died, things got sort of complicated in that way. We sort of like went to church because like God was church versus like any sort of relationship with God. So we did that. And there was a point for me without anyone really telling me where I would lay in my bed at night as like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and I would cry and pray. I would plead for God to bring my dad back because my only real understanding of, I had this understanding like, okay, if God could bring Jesus, this is little kid Zach talking for a sec. If God can bring Jesus back from the dead, then he can bring my dad back from the dead, And so I would pray that and I'd plead for that. And I'd believe that it was possible. And I'd believe that, God, if you're real, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and he's going to be here.
You said 6, right?
I was 6.
Yeah.
And I'd pray that. And obviously that never happened. And so as I got older into my teen years, I began to realize I was becoming aware of the fact that a lot of my understanding of God was really all based around my dad. And so for me, it was like, well, of course, fine, I'll keep going to church. If church is God, then I'll keep doing that because that's my way to see my dad again. And if I gotta like pray this prayer, yeah, sure, I'll pray that prayer, whatever. If that gets me to see my dad again, I'm gonna do it. And I did all that. And then one day when I was 14, it was I've actually been back one other time, but we went to his grave. It was the anniversary of his death, and on my way out of the car there, I took one step out and I just started bawling. I just let everything go, and I'd never cried that hard in my life. And it was like, not that I hadn't grieved, but it was like in a way that I couldn't have at 6 years old. At 14, I was really grieving. Like, he's gone and he's never coming back. And I stood there at his grave and I just wailed in a way that I don't know that I've really even cried like that since, you know? And it without making it dramatic, I just felt this sense that like God, not that God was doing this for the first time, but the first time I was really aware of the fact that God was like comforting me, was like showing me that there was a father that had never stopped being present to me. And my dad, even though he was gone, he was still present with me, but like this God, Father, Maker, Creator, Savior. And I know there's the Trinity, but just in terms of like a father loving me, that is what really hit home for me at that grave. And I walked away from that with eyes that I hadn't had before. And I don't know. Only other thing I'd say to that is music was a huge part of my life. I have memories of him before he died listening on his headphones. And so music was my way of grieving that and a way of processing that. And so I feel like most of my life, music has been my way of talking to God and experiencing God and making sense of why I would have to live without my dad. And now all these years later, I see it as like, I wouldn't want my dad to die, but I also wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the life that I have without that experience. So you could almost make the case that without that experience, maybe I wouldn't be a songwriter. Maybe I wouldn't. It's like death is what drove me to that. Death is what ultimately drove me to God. And so it's a weird thing to say, but that's been like a primary foundation and thrust for everything that I do in my life.
Dang, that's powerful stuff, man. Golly, thanks for sharing all that. Like when you started to play music and play around with writing songs and stuff, did you think of yourself as, ooh, I'm gonna write worship songs, or were you thinking I'm gonna write some killer indie rock songs that talk about my faith? Like what was kind of your approach?
You know what's really weird is like I didn't even know what worship music was until I moved to Savannah right out of high school. Because the church I grew up in, we only did hymns, and I knew about Christian music, but I didn't know that there was like this whole worship thing. So I was just kind of like writing. I don't know, for some reason I just had the sense that like that I had permission to write songs where I was like talking to God about these hard things.
How did you become a worship leader? Because you were a worship leader at Mars Hill Church. I think you destroyed Mars Hill Church. I hear it's not a church anymore.
I did. And I burned it all down.
I've got to assume it's your fault. I got to assume it's your fault.
Without a doubt.
Hey, actually, I do want to say that situation, I get it's not really a joke. There's a lot of hurting people. Would you say that you're healed from that? Is that something that you look back and say, man, God has completely restored my heart. I'm not hurt over that. And that's a real deep question to just throw at you randomly.
I would say I am healed from the Mars Hill experience. I think I will never heal from, and I don't know if it's healing is the right word, but I don't think I'll ever stop being sensitive to people in power that are specifically leading the flock of Christ. Mm-hmm. I think I'll always be sensitive to that now because of that experience, that there are certain things you'll see. And the biggest thing that I've learned is like, I think self-awareness is the greatest gift that we have in life, to see ourselves as we are. Because if we see ourselves as we are, it's because we allowed other people to help us do that. I can't think of a more like love God, love people thing than that right there. And I also think that like there's such a beauty when you come out of something like that, where you see things in a way where you're like, well, I don't know, that thing crumbled and we kept going. That must mean that this thing's bigger than that one entity or that one person, you know? So yeah, man, I feel like there's been a lot of healing there.
Yeah,
for sure.
So was that the first place that you were a worship leader at?
I did it in Savannah, actually.
Okay.
When I moved to Savannah, and there was this college ministry, and they asked me to come along, and they're like, hey, can you play like key? I was like, I don't know. It was a bigger college ministry, and they're like, oh, you're a musician? And I was like, yeah, I play guitar. And they're like, oh, let's do an audition with you. So this guy, he's a good friend now, but he apparently really wanted me to play B3. And I was like, dude, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, this guy isn't doing what I want. And it was in that time where I started hearing these songs. I was like, I didn't know who Chris Tomlin or David Crowder or I don't know who Hillsong. I didn't know any of those. I was experiencing them all for the first time at 18. So that was a whole new thing for me. And that kind of I found a lot of connection though with the people that I was making or doing the music with. And that sort of is what got me into doing that, ultimately with a bunch of high school and middle school kids. And that was one of the highlights of my life, doing that. In fact, a good buddy who was a part of Seacoast, Robert Knight.
Okay, yeah.
He and I built a friendship around that because he was doing a similar job. I actually grew up with his wife in Maryland.
Dude, I cannot believe this. My mind just got blown. Wow.
Yes, April, yep. And so we, anyway, he was like the only other person I knew that was like doing this thing with a bunch of high schoolers and middle schoolers. And that wound up being a really sweet friendship and partnership there.
Do you know what the heck they've been doing post Helene?
Yes, it's insane.
Gosh.
It's insane.
My gosh. All right, go ahead.
Yep. Yep. It's beautiful. It's beautiful what they're doing. So anyway, so yeah, that was kind of my entry into that whole world of worship leading, and ultimately like having a desire to want to write some songs. In fact, dude, I'll stop talking a sec. I have a memory, John Mark, of my buddy Matt Templeton. They lived in North Carolina. We met at SCAD. They didn't go to SCAD, but we met at the church. He drove down one weekend, he and his wife, and they wanted to hang out. My wife and I just had our first kid. And he's like, dude, I got to show you this guy, this record. And we went out into my driveway and we sat in his car and we listened to, oh my gosh, dude. I'm trying to remember what record it was. It was an early record. I mean, this would have been 2006.
Oh, wow. Okay.
John Mark's like, you beat me.
Yep.
2007. And he showed me this record and I remember just being like, huh? You can do this? And that was really cool. That was a really powerful moment. So I feel like that was another one of those moments where you're like, all these little things along the way that gave me permission to feel like I could make music the way that I always had, but also find ways to write songs that people could also sing in the church.
Yeah. Zach, how do you think this sounds? I was thinking as I was putting my notes together, because I'm going to turn my attention to John Mark here. How does this fit? Saint John Mark. I mean, he's old enough. He's got the beard. He speaks wisdom just fluently.
Yep.
Saint John Mark. I think that should be like a nickname.
It definitely needs to be a t-shirt with the hands.
All right. So, John, you gotta bear with me here. I'm going to give a crack at your life journey, which I, obviously know 1% about. You're the one that walked it, but let me take a stab at this narrative. So you used to write worship songs. He Loves Us, for example, was a big one. And then I know this partly, having become your friend, that you've had changes in how you see Christian faith. Again, these are all my words, not yours. I think our journeys have been very similar. In fact, I've referred to you before as like a spiritual twin, except you're more poetic and smarter than me. But I'd say that your goal for a long time recently has not been to write specifically worship songs, but just killer indie rock tunes. And now on the other side of what many of us would refer to as deconstruction, for people who's not familiar, a lot of people refer to deconstruction but still keep their faith. Again, I'm using these words, not John Mark, but having gone through a lot of changes, you're now re-engaging in writing songs specifically for worship. How'd I do?
Pretty
All
good.
right, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Fill in some gaps, make some corrections.
Yes. I work from the front and back. So you said I'm re-engaging in writing songs for worship. I'd say that's pretty accurate. I think for me, though, it wasn't even that I was purposely trying to write songs for church again, as much as I just found myself attracted to singing simple worship choruses. My father-in-law passed away about a year and a half ago, maybe about a year ago, and my wife was one of his caretakers, so he spent a lot of time at our house during those last weeks and months of his life, and he would often be in the room, like I'm in my studio here. He would be in the room right across the hall watching TV, sleeping on the couch or whatever. So while my wife is going through that, he was also my wife's best friend. Like they were super close. And he and I were close too. We were friends. He wasn't just my father-in-law. He was my friend. But I sort of, I'm supposed to be, you got to go to work, right? Like even during tragedy, you have to like figure out how to keep doing the things you're supposed to do and drive the kids to school and make lunches and try and show up and go to work. So I'm trying to write songs, and I think I'm writing this like, sort of like end of the world, like apocalyptic folk album, right? And it's real heady and whatever. And I realize I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in it at all. And in between writing little pieces, I would start singing these like silly little worship choruses, right? And by silly, I don't mean that they're dumb. I mean that they're just so simple. And not that simple is bad, but oftentimes when something is so simple, I'm like, I didn't even feel like they were songs. They were just little nursery rhymes that I'd say to myself. So then not long after my father-in-law had passed away, Sarah and I are asking ourselves, what do we want to do? We haven't thought much about the future. And, when you're a musician, you're essentially an entrepreneur, meaning like you don't get up and go check into an office or have an agenda. You sort of have to set the pace and decide what you're going to do. And we're sort of like having one of those moments where like, well, what are we going to do? What are we supposed to be doing right now? What's meaningful and what are we here for? What are we doing? And she brought up, maybe you should do an album of those songs, those like worship songs. And I was like, well, those aren't even songs, right? I was like, those aren't songs. Those are just silly things that I sing that make me feel the Lord, and it makes me feel better because life is so sad. And she's like, yeah, that's called a song. So like, okay, I showed the songs to some other friends to be like, are these good? Because it's been so long since I've done anything like this. And that's been one of my things with worship music. I've been out of it so long, I don't even know what's good. I know what I like and I don't like. Normally the things I like are not things that work great in church, but I have these group of songs. So I played them for some friends that I trust, and they're like, they thought they were really good. And I could see people light up when I sang the songs. And it when you write. Almost no one says the song sucks, right? You play a song for the friend, oh, cool. That means they don't get it. But you can see that when you play something that matters, you see their face light up. Like they, And I saw that enough. It's like, okay, there's something here. So I decided to go record those songs. And in the process, I kind of do things backwards, man. Like I think most people be like, I want to engage in church because I love church. I want to do something that matters in this way. So I'm going to write these songs. For me, it was almost like the songs found me. And I'm like, what the heck do I do with these? I'm like, oh gosh, these are like songs people might sing in church. And so out of nowhere, I allowed myself to re-explore that part of me. Partially because the songs showed up, and I wish I could say I was smart enough to say this is what I wanted to do, and so I did it. But it's kind of the other way around. They kind of found me, and I've really loved it. I realized that I love being that person for people in the sense, not in the sense of identity, but in the sense of like it's such a beautiful privilege to be able to facilitate someone having a transcendent existential conversation with their maker. Like people need that. Like they really, really need it. And I think that people have known that for centuries, but in the last 50 or 100 years, humanity has almost decided that like it's okay to approach the world as just cold data and molecules bumping around in a soup of matter, right? And people are sad,
Yeah.
right? And I think I think some of it there's probably a number of reasons. Maybe some people are sad because they don't have a posture towards God and the transcendent the way people have had for centuries, right? And so like I realized it's actually such a gift to be able to stand in that place and offer people an opportunity to have that thing, because people don't go about their day thinking of like what words I need to say to God, but I have the privilege of sitting around my office all day just racking my brains about like, what should a human say to God? What would be good for a human to sing? And I get to offer that to people. I get to watch them in real time have that moment. And it ultimately has nothing to do with me, but I love that I'm able to be in that moment, and for a long time, I sort of resisted that. And we could talk for a long time about why I resisted it. Well, whenever it's been good, whether it's been Mercury and Lightning, where I'm actually sort of singing through a deconstruction, or the medicine or whatever, it feels like anytime it's really been good, it has felt that way. It's felt like the songs found me, and then it was my job to serve the songs. Whenever I've pushed them and made them happen, they haven't. Sometimes it's been good, but more often than not, it hasn't quite hit the mark. But it was one of those seasons, I don't even know that you can make it happen. It was just one of those seasons for me where it was all of a sudden like, oh, I feel like I have something to do. I have these songs and I know how to serve people with these songs. As with like Mercury and Lightning, I was like, I have no idea. I think everyone's going to hate me when I put this album out. They're going to think that I've totally abandoned them. And, but with this, it was almost like, I feel like I know what this is for. I feel like I know why I have these and I know what to do with them. And that felt really good because I don't always feel that way. They do often very much find me, but rarely do I know what I'm supposed to do with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Zach, would you consider would we all three agree, like we get the whole concept of worship? It can be a part of anything that we do, not just a song and not just a Christian song. I mean, you can sing about mountains or your kids and it be an act of worship. But would y'all agree, would we all three just say, yeah, there's some songs that people write for direct worshipful purposes, hymns, would be included in that, right? Yeah, we would all agree with that.
Yeah.
Y'all are all shaking your head. So Zach, would you call yourself a worship song writer when it comes to Living Proof, that EP? To me, I'm listening to it and it is for not only because I just love how it sounds, but I'm listening to it to engage with God. So for me, it's an act of worship, but they don't sound like worship songs as far as what people think of when they think of worship songs.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever considered myself a worship songwriter, but I do think the natural byproduct of writing songs that you yourself are finding connection with God on. It makes sense to me, especially I've always said, and I'm not the first one to say this or think it, but if you believe in something, especially in the way that you communicate it, I think other people will find that same connection and same belief. Not that they're borrowing your belief, but they're finding that the language you're using is a language they were either searching for or a language that they find in common. And I think that that's what's been unique about writing songs that people, even like yourself, Joey, like where you'd listen to it and you'd say, well, this is like move me in worship. I think that there's something about not making it prescriptive, but more just saying, here's these songs and letting people find their own way through it and where those songs are meant to take them. That to me, I mean, even as an artist, like I like that, especially in a world of marketing and trying to like push people in certain directions. There's something about just making something without saying, hey, you need to listen to it for this purpose, and more, here it is. And then however they go. And it's just like not surprising to me that you would listen to that record and have that experience, because I had that experience making it, but I wouldn't label it that way because I want people to put whatever label they want to on it based on where they are and based on where it finds them. And it's just so happens that it finds people in a lot of places in connection with God, worship,
Yeah. All right. So we're wrapping this thing up and I've got to ask you two as artists, is it annoying? So John Mark, I was in Florida when I texted you. I wanted to know what some meaning was behind a specific song because it was really ministering to me. Is that an annoying question? Like as artists, are y'all just like, just get out of the song what you want out of the song? Now I know it wouldn't have been a problem for me to ask you and that you would be kind and forgiving, but is that annoying when people say, hey, what do you mean by certain stuff? Like you just just take it however you want. Or do you like explaining your songs?
Sometimes it's annoying and sometimes it's not. I think it's when someone really has this heart connection to a song and they want to dig deeper in the song, I really appreciate that. There are some times when I feel like people want to argue theologically about what I'm saying. I'm like, y'all just got it. Words are a construct, y'all. They work for me. I don't work for them. You just do what you will with the words. But when someone genuinely has a connection, they want to go deeper. I think that's fascinating. But yeah, so I guess it's a both and. Sometimes it's annoying and sometimes it's fun.
Awesome. What about you, Zach? Because I'm about to ask both of you what two different songs are about.
Okay. I would say I am always a little bit hesitant, only because I think specifically in Christian culture, we have an obsession with needing to have the answers and mystery. I mean, good grief. We worship, we follow, we listen, we look for a God that is completely mysterious and does things outside of the bounds of time and space and even reason. And I think, it makes sense that we would create these things that somehow defy the common logics and experiences. And I think art does that. Sometimes I remember John Mark and I talking about this. Sometimes I don't even know what a song means fully for me until like years down the road. So I kind of like the idea of just being like, I don't know. I don't want to play hardball, but I also think there's something really beautiful about putting the question back on someone else. Like, well, what does it mean to you? Because I'm actually more interested in that.
Yeah.
Personally.
So
I'm going to steal that answer. I love that answer right there.
That was good. That was good, man. Zach, golly, dude, you have grown a lot since the last time I've talked.
Since the last time you were, just eating popcorn.
Heckling you. Yeah. All right. So here's the deal we'll make. You guys tell listeners exactly what you want to say about these songs, and you may just say, go listen. I want it to speak for itself. So that's a fair answer, and you can do it for both songs if you want. But I picked what I would say are currently my two favorite songs on both of your albums. And as we're talking about it, why don't you guys give the name of the album and so people hear it, and we'll have it in the show notes. So you just released an EP. How long ago was it? We're talking months, right?
Yeah, we released it back in April. Living is Proof. Yeah. And
then John Mark, I lost track of when you released.
Cosmic Supreme, we released it. I cannot remember exactly when we released it, but it was a couple of months ago. It was a few months ago.
Yep. All right. So Zach's
April. I want to say April.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Zach, So Kind and It's Freaking Me Out. Tell people what you want people to know, and we'll have it playing in the background. Zach's gonna play hardball both times. It's okay, man. That's fair.
We'll just stare down. No, I would say, as just like a doorway in for people on that song, I'm using kind of an aggressive word that God's freaking me out. But I think the idea is that's what kindness is. And true kindness that meets us in moments of our life where we just did not expect it. You might say surprised. I use the word that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I didn't see that one coming. So I'll give you that much.
Sweet. Ancient Love, John Mark.
Yep. I want to say, so first of all, it was when I wrote the chorus, is pretty intuitive. I was just strumming a guitar, and that's how a lot of my songs start. I just sort of sing what comes to mind. And there's something about singing that chorus to myself that made me feel a certain way. It made me feel connected to something ancient. And I think that what it is that I started to feel like it was okay to reconnect with certain ancient ideas of faith that maybe I had not walked away from, but ignored or put on the shelf. The idea of the Holy Spirit might be something real that I can connect with and tangible. There may be more to the world than things that can be explained, right? There may be more to the world than just the matter or the material. And it's okay, even though I don't sound cool. All my cool friends talk about the world as though it's just molecules and matter, but that's not enough for me, right? Molecules and matter are not enough. Even if it's just the organization of the molecules or the unseen world of ideas, even though I think it's much more than that. But like something about reconnecting to God in that mysterious, ancient way, just made me feel alive again in a way I hadn't felt in a very long time.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm singing about. It's not even like, oh, I walked away from God and now I'm re-engaging with God, or I was a sinner and now I'm repenting. It's more just like a new realization that I'm a part of a very, very ancient story that started way back, at the beginning of time. And whatever role I play in that story, it's a privilege to be a part of whatever story God's telling through my little life. And I'm just glad to be able to sit around and think about that, be a part of it. So that's kind of what I think I was trying to say. Those were the feelings I was having.
I love this. Y'all are a little annoyed at me,
when I wrote those words.
I appreciate it.
Not at all.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I'm just saying those were the feelings I was having when I wrote those words.
Well, perfect segue, what you were saying about molecules and everything, more than the science and all the facts, I feel you in that lyrics. And that's my favorite song. I just feel you like I'm meant to. You want to say anything or?
No, you know what? That song started off similar to what John Mark described as with Ancient Love. Like I was just kind of playing. It actually was this very, very soft, sweet song that I would just sing to myself. And I didn't really share it. And then one day I shared it with a buddy and he was like, kind of similar to what John Mark's describing, like had a response that lets you know, okay, this might be something a little bit more. And then, I don't know, I got in my brain that I kind of feel like the way it was felt kind of sad. And I actually feel really excited about this idea that like I actually feel the older I get, the more excited I get in regards to my faith, that I don't have words to describe so much of what I've experienced. And that to me is what that song is really getting at. That it's more than what we can say. Sometimes it's like that gut instinct. Some people call it Holy Spirit. I think it's everything. I think it's it's probably a life lived where you can now look back and you could think about all the words that you used to say, well, this was God and this was that. And then you kind of look back and you kind of get humbled a little bit because you're like, well, that was me just trying to play God, wasn't it? Trying to act as if I knew exactly what God was thinking, but I didn't know it all. So really, probably at the end of it, sometimes I just got that feeling like, all right, you're there with me right now. Or I don't know how to explain this right now, but I just believe, or I don't know how to say it, but I just got so much hope for that person, and I think that to me is really what that song was getting at.
I would say for me personally that if it weren't for those times when I can't put words to it, but I'm literally like, I can't say anything other than that was God's love shown to me, I don't know if I could still believe right now. Like that, those are my anchors, because it's like, I can't deny those moments. I just can't.
I totally agree.
Heart's Delight. That was you and your wife, right, John Mark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's probably my second favorite song right now, but it's too hard. I mean, it was easy just to pick two of my favorites, but Heart's Delight, man.
Yep. So that's a song idea I had for a very long time, and my wife loved it, and she wanted me to finish it. And it's an idea that sort of popped back up. I think it was one of those things that like it didn't fit on some of the other albums because it felt too straightforward, almost naive. But I feel like this part of my life, I've moved in sort of a second naivety, right? Like allowing myself to be naive in certain, I don't know, maybe that's just the way to talk about like the progression of like, it's okay to not know everything and not have perfect words for everything. But I think that revisiting some of those simple ideas, that's one of them, and I think, what does it mean to delight in God? Like the word joy has almost lost a lot of its meaning in the world, right? Like I think we talk about like pleasure, we talk about good mental health, we talk about success, all these good things, all those things net positive, right? But joy actually has a meaning making element to it, right? Joy is not happiness in the sense of denying the sadness. It's sort of, joy is embracing all of it and choosing to delight in the fact that we get to be a part of the whole thing, right? So for me, it's like it's not a naivety in the sense of like, I'm pretending that I'm not sad about what happened recently with losing my father-in-law, or it's not that, but it also is about like choosing to delight in the fact that I got to know him and that God gave me the opportunity to be a part of his life and him a part of my life, and sort of embracing the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And saying, like, I think God is delightful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that all the people who talk about God are always very delightful, but that's okay, because I think the Christian life is delightful in its purest form. Loving God and loving human beings is the most meaningful two things that you can do with your life. They're not always easy, and sometimes it's sad, and sometimes it's hard. But in my opinion, there's nothing you can do in your life that's more meaningful than giving yourselves to those two things: loving God and loving other people.
St. John Mark, folks. St. John Mark.
I'm just making this stuff up, Joey. I'm just making it up as I go.
Yeah. And Zach and I are like, holy cow, he's just saying this stuff like off the top of his head.
It's beautiful.
I've thought about it a little bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Hey, we'll wrap it up here. You guys may get a chuckle out of this, but both of y'all, the most current music y'all are writing, it's got 80s roots for me when I'm listening. So specifically, there's a song called Holy Powers, and I was thinking this sounds fresh and new, like it was written in 2024, whenever you wrote it. But all of a sudden, I also feel like I'm in church in the 1980s. It's like a perfect blend of, oh, this is like really nice. This doesn't, sound old or dated, but all of a sudden, it reminds me of being in church as a kid.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I will say when I started working on our record, I was staining something in our house, and I was going to be alone for a while. So I just turned on an 80s like rock anthem playlist, and, dang, there's a lot of good songs from that era. And I can totally, it was like for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, I finally I see now how worship music came to being, because it was an era where music existed. It was like, you had 60, like Beatles obviously did so much, and the 70s did a lot of cool stuff in rock, but like 80s was like this like perfect blend of like pop and rock and other elements too. You obviously had hip hop and R&B all of a sudden coming together. And it was like, to me, it was an era of music where it really people, I think, felt like they were part of something bigger than themselves. So they go to these concerts and it's like, whoa. So it makes sense to me that like worship music would become like a semblance of that, So that's cool that you picked up on that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Let me ask you a question. How old are you, Zach? I know you told me.
I'm 40.
You're 40. I'm 45. Yep. How old are you, Joey?
I'm turning 48 this month.
48.
I didn't realize I was that much older than John Mark.
Well, I'll be 46 in like months, so you're not much older than me. You're like 2 years.
Yeah.
But like we all kind of grew up in the 80s. And so like the 80s for me was like, age 2 to like age 10. And so like that was like my childhood. So 80s sounds remind me of being a kid. There's no teenage me in the 80s. It's all and so there is just something about like being full of like wonder and mystery as a kid, and how the world was magical, because you didn't know everything and the possibilities were endless. So sometimes the 80s music feels that way to me, which is funny because in the 90s it totally bummed me out. I didn't want to hear a keyboard. I wanted guitars and rap. That's all I wanted. True. Heavy guitars and rap. But then all of a sudden it's like, it would be great to feel like a kid again. Like, give me a DX7.
You've been watching Seacoast Church's Things You Won't Hear on Sunday podcast. You can now become a patron of this podcast and receive exclusive content. Your support goes towards Seacoast ministry efforts in local prisons. Also, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast so that you get these episodes as soon as they're released. All of this information can be found in the show notes. Thanks for watching.